That's the one thing about our audience. They always want a new guy to break through the glass ceiling.
Literally, you're a little illiterate.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. I am the jabroni beating, pie eating, trailblazing, eyebrow raising, talking is done, you're out of your class, no sleep till Brooklyn, The Rock whips your ass. Woo!
I wish you and King would quit talking.
Hopefully now this will work. Hey, welcome to episode number 66 of Around the Ring. I am Dave Brown, one of your hosts, joined by Floyd Johnson. How you doing, sir?
I am doing well. A big week in wrestling. Looking forward to talking about it. A lot of different things changing, a lot of stories outside of involving wrestling, but outside of the actual shows.
Yeah, that it is big. Lots of. In fact, we missed last week, so we ended up not talking about Clash of Champions and a few other things. But in the last couple of weeks, it's been a lot of news, a lot of things going around the TNA campfire, and why don't we start with that? Because one thing we're going to do is instead of going segment by segment on all of the different shows, we're just going to kind of talk about the shows in general and give our thoughts overall. Just to try something out, we're going to do that for a few weeks and see how that goes. And tell us if you prefer one or the other. Let us know. You can tweet us, tweet the show at AroundTheRingOK, or send us an email, AroundTheRingOK@gmail.com. We'd like to know which you think is better. But we're also going to hit up our top 5 favorite storylines / angles of all time. We'll do that toward the end of the show. So, TNA. What have you seen? What are the latest headlines, news, things? Have you seen anything today or lately?
What I've mostly seen, and this has pretty much been the standard for like the last 5 days, which is pretty consistent in the wrestling world, is that the WWE is going to buy the library and put that on the network. And then it looks like Billy Corgan will actually buy the promotion and, you know, the infrastructure of TNA, and he's going to rebrand it, which he's wanting to be. He's learned. He spent the last few years being kind of like an intern and studying and learning about the inner workings of the wrestling business, and he thinks he can run a company. He thinks he can run a promotion.
Well, didn't he ran a promotion out of Chicago for a while?
Did he? I did
yes.
not know that. I am honestly, other than his name being Billy Corgan and Smashing Pumpkins, and he started with TNA a couple years ago, I think. That's pretty much what I know about him.
Yeah, my understanding, I don't know the details, but he did run a company out in Chicago for a while, so he has some experience running a wrestling organization. I think his idea to rebrand, shut it down, and start over is the best thing in the world you can do. At this point, I mean, first of all, the name TNA from the get-go was stupid, and that was just destined for failure, in my opinion.
The name TNA was on the edge of when the country was still type of pushing the envelope. We were still at the very edge, if not, and I mean the Attitude Era, very edge of the Attitude Era, and still in that Jerry Springer section that we had there. And so TNA was, total nonstop action, but, it had the double entendre with it.
Right.
So
it just screams of Southern white trash. No offense to folks from the South. But considering the fact this is a company started by Jeff Jarrett and his dad, it's not surprising.
Dude, I understand where people are going with that, but Jeff Jarrett, a really good wrestling guy. He knows how to put on a really good wrestling show, and he made a company, sold it, and made a ton of money off of it. So
true. Now his current venture, either the Gold Ponzi scheme or Global Force Wrestling, are not doing so well. Not when you have your Global Force Wrestling Tag Team Champions, or at least last I heard, getting destroyed on NXT by a couple of basically big goofs. Yeah, it doesn't say a lot.
Well, the thing about Global Force Wrestling is what happened is all the people that he planned on signing, WWE decided to start signing smaller guys and indie guys. So it really destroyed their talent pool.
Yeah. See, I have to admit, I'm not a much of a Jeff Jarrett fan. I think he had some moments he had a couple of really good promos. That one where he came back from, it was in the height of Austin 316, and he showed up in WWE, and he cut that pretty scathing promo on Eric Bischoff, but also turned around and ripped Vince McMahon a new one. That was really good. But you go much past those things, and he's really bad. Slapnuts was awful.
I enjoyed that.
Really? Oh,
I love Slapnuts. I still say, listen up, Slapnuts. I still say that because
it makes me cringe.
It's just he's very much. I'm a childhood fan of wrestling. He very much never got out of that. He's still very like an '80s wrestler. He's just. And that's what he is. He wrestles a very simple style that no one gets hurt. He has his promos where he takes the cheap heat every time. It's like very few times. He grew up in the wrestling business. He learned how to be a heel in the 70s and early 80s. That's what he still is, and I enjoy that about him. I enjoy the consistency of who he is.
Okay, I can see that. He has suffered from delusions of grandeur, though, going back for like ever. He seemed to, and I know you're supposed to position yourself and talk about yourself as if you're the best. That's kind of the way the culture in wrestling is. You have to really promote yourself, but really, he was never that good. He's okay in the ring. He can have a decent match. He's basically, if Ric Flair actually was born and raised in the South and not in Minnesota or wherever from the North he was and then transplanted to the South, that's Jeff Jarrett. He really has tried to ape so much of what Ric Flair does, to varying degrees of success. And now, to be fair, I have not seen any of his work in TNA. I'm completely going off of what he did in the 90s in WCW and the WWE, which collectively stunk.
He gets a bad rap for his TNA because he held the belt, but most people don't realize that most wrestlers in TNA weren't under contract. So he would be bringing in these people in a per-show basis. The only person he could trust to show up and defend the title every Wednesday night when he's selling a pay-per-view every week was him. So he had to keep the title on himself.
And of all of the things, of all of his egregious sins, for lack of a better term, that bug me, that one doesn't. Jerry Lawler was the champion in his Memphis territory forever. Why?
Same logic.
Yeah, it's his territory. The Von Erichs ruled world class because it was their territory. How many years was Vern Gagne AWA World Champion, going into the point where no one could take him seriously walking into a ring? He was still their world champion, and that's an old leftover thing from the territory days. So from that standpoint, I totally get it, and that really doesn't bother me. I've never been impressed with his in-ring ability. He's okay on the mic, but his delusions of grandeur have always really bothered me. It's like, son, have confidence in yourself, but know your place. And your place is nowhere near the top of the card.
I would have to say I agree with that to a point. He's the worst thing you can be called in the wrestling business. He's a good hand. That's all he is.
Yeah.
He's a solid B player. Not even B plus.
He's B minus.
He is a solid mid card. The best title I'll give him is the Intercontinental Championship. When the WCW put the world title on him, I thought that was close to the death of their title. Because even though he was a great heel, he wasn't the heel in where I just want to see someone knock the crap out of him type heel. So I don't know. I did. He put China over, so he will always get my respect for that. Because I don't care how much number or what the number was Vince put on a piece of paper for him, he put a woman over. So
yeah, but let's be realistic. Yes, she is a woman, but if you stood China next to Jeff Jarrett at that time, and no one in their right mind is going, yeah, Jeff Jarrett's going to win in that fight. No, It's, you look at that and like, yeah, he's going to die. She's going to break him in half because she's the freaking Hulk. And so, but yeah, no, I know the culture at the time, it was a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, 70s and 80s wrestling, women were the kind of cute people that you put on at the beginning or the middle of the show so everyone could go to the bathroom. I mean, it truly was, and it was just like in the culture of who she was big, and like I said, he still put her over. He put her over and then didn't come out and badmouth it after.
That's true.
He didn't. He could have crapped on it. He's like, dude, I got paid or whatever. He put her over, and that was it. That was really the last you heard of it from him.
Well, that's, fair point. Good. I will concede that. Yes, but this really begs the question: what is going to happen with the future of TNA? So we've got the library most likely heading to WWE. Now, whether or not that means it's going to show up on the network anytime soon, that's a huge question because they've got so much stuff that they're just sitting on.
They sent out a survey. Basically, I'm one of the network subscribers. They sent out the survey, and it was asking about different price points. And what it looks like is they're going to have a $14.99 price point, and that's the only way you're going to get every pay-per-view and every pay-per-view. And it looks like it said videos of independent companies, and they said like TNA and ROH.
I saw a story about that.
So it looks like, yeah, I actually took the survey. So it looks like they're discussing that. I mean, of course, if they pay what a lot of people think they're going to pay for the library, I mean, that's a huge library of wrestling. If they're going to pay what they're paying for the library, they're going to have to recoup that money somehow. Yeah. And, of course, WWE's always looking for new subscribers. And if you can get $5 more out of your current subscribers like me, because I, of course, would pay for it because I loved early TNA wrestling. So, I mean, if that's the case, then I'm definitely all for it. I have been one of the proponents that the WWE Network should live stream like ROH and New Japan, and as it being the one-stop wrestling site. But if they're gonna do moves you're not comfortable with, tag it with the TVNA and have parental controls on it, and that would be fine with me.
And that's something actually I've been saying for a while as well, that the network really needs to try to become a one-stop shop for all of pro wrestling. Now, they probably won't be able to get New Japan because New Japan's got their New Japan World, and it seems to be doing fairly okay. Whether or not they can get Ring of Honor will really depend on Ring of Honor's contract with New Japan, because that could make things sticky. But the idea of being able to see old Ring of Honor pay-per-views or current Ring of Honor pay-per-views on the WWE Network, I think is fantastic. And I've been saying for the longest time they should be putting Evolve shows on the WWE Network. Now again, Evolve is part of the WWN Live, which is a WWE Network-like subscription service. So there's that you run into, but I think it's a no-brainer. For me, it's what they really need to concentrate on, in my opinion, is the hardcore wrestling fans, because they've probably on their weekly TV they're starting to max out on the really hardcore WWE fans. But there are wrestling fans that don't particularly like WWE. There aren't a ton of them, but there are enough that for $15 a month, if you offer them a one-stop shop to get everything, they might be willing to do that. Because as someone at the moment, I don't have the WWE Network because I am poor AF, and sometimes it is hard for me to keep up with the programming, not just WWE, but Ring of Honor, Lucha Underground, Evolve is nearly impossible to keep up with. So, because I can't afford to buy it all, and so I'm at the mercy of those people nice enough to break federal laws and put them somewhere where I can see them. Not that I'm condoning this, children, but you do what you got to do.
You got to do what you got to do.
Exactly.
I feel like when in the height of my wrestling fandom, I still feel like I'm pretty extremely fan right now, but there was 12 pay-per-views a month, and they were $30 a month, and it was $360 a year for wrestling. Did I pay for every pay-per-view?
No.
I found a way to see all of them, though. But I never paid for all of them because it was just $360 of my life. Like, with the WWE Network, for the $9.99 a month, I can honestly say $9.99 a month was a third of what I was spending on wrestling every year. Because $9.99 a month at that $120, and I'm not trying to sell anyone on the WWE Network. It was just my reasoning for signing up. That was $120 a year. I would always get the Royal Rumble. I would always get WrestleMania. I would always get Survivor Series, and I would always get the Big Four. So SummerSlam, that was the one I was missing, and I would always get Money in the Bank. So I would get at least 6. That was those 6 on a year in the WWE Network. Even if they add the $5 to watch TNA, it's still going to be more than I spent. So $9.99 a month, I'm not going to miss it. That's just me eating out lunch once time less, if even I even decided to do it that way. So that was the greatest thing in the world when they signed up to the WWE Network. And I for one thought the $9.99 price point was a little too cheap. And I know that's weird, but I thought it should be $14.99, especially for all the pay-per-views you were getting. But so when they said $9.99, I was like, here's my card. I was seriously, the first day that they let you sign up, I signed up. I don't know if I was the first or 100th or the 1,000th. I signed up, and I have not. The longest I've been out with a subscription is 27 minutes when my card changed. So
I think I remember you posted something on Facebook about that. You almost had a panic attack. It doesn't work.
Yeah, it was like, what happened? And and I can honestly say with this, my password information is not hard to guess. So I imagine some people may use my WWE Network account. May. I don't know. I cannot confirm or deny this because, sharing your password apparently is illegal. So people might have access to my WWE Network.
And I'm surprised WWE hasn't gone in and put on, restrictions like with Netflix. If you have the basic Netflix account, the one that's $10 a month, or $9 a month, you are allowed to watch Netflix on 2 different devices at one time, and that's it. And I know this because there have been times that I've been watching it either on a TV or on my computer upstairs. My son's been watching it, and then my daughter tries to go and watch something, and she says, I can't. So at that point, being the good dad that I am, I'm like, okay, I stop watching what I'm watching. I go watch something on Hulu or something else and let her on. So
I will say this, as from coming from the IT side of it, because that's what I do in my real life, that it's hard to, it costs money to put those type of features in.
Really?
And
okay.
The WWE Network is, they're at the subscriber count they want, but of course they're not making as much money as they can, because if they were, we wouldn't hear this advertisement 18 times while watching the WWE Network, which makes no sense to me.
Oh, I know. That is so irritating. Watch the WWE Network. I am, motherfucker.
I am
watching it right now
on my paid account. I'm like, I would pay an extra $1 to not have to see the WWE Network commercials inside the WWE Network.
Yeah. So, what's interesting, because I saw some of those screenshots, they said that $14.99 account is no commercials. But during the pay-per-views, they run spots that are essentially commercials. And since that is live, I'm going to have to assume that you will still have to sit through that, or you will get a blank screen for that time frame.
Yeah.
Because here's what's coming on the WWE Network, most of which is crap.
Well, and I understand why they do that one. I'm all about the commercials during the pay-per-views. I don't mind those because I know a lot of people will make a new account just to see the commercials. You know what I'm saying? To get that 1 month free again. So I mean, just to see the pay-per-view, and of course, maybe that can get them to keep signing up. Like I said, I don't understand. I don't understand. The whole reasoning. I understand some people can't afford $9.99 a month, especially with all this other subscription-based services out there. But
it's hard times.
As I say, some people go through hard times. I am fortunate enough not to have a wife or kids, so I don't have those.
So here, and I admit I don't mind those. Here's what's coming on the WWE Network. I actually I think that's of all of the commercials, that's the one. At least the first time I see it, it doesn't bother me.
The sixth time it gets a little annoying.
Yeah, exactly. So with TNA, we'll get the TNA stuff eventually someday on the network. I can foresee them doing DVDs or Beyond the Mat documentaries where they fill in the blanks of Sting's career, where they talk about the history of Samoa Joe and AJ Styles and Bobby Roode.
They're going to do an AJ Styles month, definitely. He was the face of TNA for a very, very long time.
And I guess last week or the week before on Talking Smack that Daniel Bryan actually just straight up talked about his TNA title runs, which I didn't see that episode of Talking Smack, unfortunately.
Who talked about their title run?
Daniel Bryan talked about AJ Styles.
Okay.
Title runs in TNA.
Oh, okay.
And then I will say I loved when Sting was getting inducted into the Hall of Fame and how he mentioned Joker Sting. I thought that was great. So it's any little mention of TNA, it's kind of like breaking that fourth wall. I kind of like, not because I'm a TNA fan, but because I like breaking of fourth walls and like crossovers. So that always kind of makes me smile.
You know what? And I think Vince did it because it's a bigger story when he finally does break up to talk about TNA. If he had been acknowledging TNA the whole time, first of all, it would have made their viewership go up. Second of all, it would have made it like a war, so people would have started tuning in to TNA. And now that TNA is going out of business and it has this big, long history, 14 years, I don't care. Long time. I don't think ECW made it that long.
No.
14 years is a long time to run an organization before you really have to like sell. You know what I'm saying? So they did a good job. They survived a lot of television changes. I wish Dixie would have been the money and let Jeff run the wrestling show, because there was this period of time where it was just better than the WWE. It was just better. And it was week by week, show by show, it was just better. And then Dixie took over and they started trying to compete with the WWE by becoming the WWE. And you can't out WWE the WWE.
Yeah, that is true. So with Billy Corgan taking over, and if this all happens, and making a new organization out of it, he's going to give it a new name, which I'm really curious what the new name would be. I'm guessing he'll strip all the champions and just make all new championships. Hopefully they'll get rid of that Grand Championship because that thing's stupid. But more than anything else, is he going to keep those stupid-ass six-sided rings? That's got to go.
I love the six-sided ring. Will always love the six-sided ring. I just think it's the ultimate in making it not a WWE product.
Well, I mean, okay, yes, but you watch Ring of Honor, and Ring of Honor has a four-sided ring, and beyond a shadow of a doubt, you are not watching a WWE product.
Yes, but if your goal is to one day compete with the WWE, it starts with the ring. We're even different in the ring. Our ring is not even four sides. Come watch us. I thought it was a great gimmick. I still think it's a great gimmick. I've heard that it's not the best for the wrestlers, so I'm thinking with the world that we live in with technology and engineering, they can take care of that. But other than that, I love the six-sided ring. I love the six-corner matches. I love how you can do it with the ladders and TLC. Everything that you can do in the WWE, it just adds a little edge to it. It makes it truly different.
Yeah, to me, I look at that. To me, that just is gimmick in the worst way possible. There's good gimmick, and then there's bad gimmick. And bad gimmick is just the, oh, hey, look at us, shiny, shiny, look at us. And to me...
But hasn't AAA been using a six-sided ring for, like, years?
And it sucks there, too.
See, I don't think it sucks. That's the whole thing. I don't think it sucks. I think, like I said, I think you can bring someone in and make the ring safer. But other than that, it's just a little tweak on what you've been used to seeing all your life.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. I can't. Is there something about the look, the aesthetic, the way it changes the way a match flows? I don't like it. I know most wrestlers hate it. It's not as safe for them. It would be nice if some engineers could go in there and design it so it's not as bad on the wrestlers, because at this point, wrestlers have to do so much stuff that is so bloody dangerous. The last thing in the world they need to worry about is a ring that isn't as safe as it could be. And to me, it's just, of all of the things, if you're going to roll the dice in your company to say, hey, we're different, of all of the things you're going to do, I think having a six-sided ring is not the way to go. I know AAA's used it for years. I've watched some AAA stuff, and even with the guys on there who I love from Lucha Underground, I cannot do the six-sided ring. It drives me crazy. And I hate that, because I would love to watch some TNA stuff and actually enjoy it, because they have people on there that I like and I think are really, really talented. But I start watching it, and after a little while, I'm like, man, screw this crap. This ring sucks. Plus, it's smaller. They don't have as much physical space in the ring to do all the cool flippy shit. I know that. Well,
and that was a big thing with me, is that it should be bigger. A six-sided ring should be bigger than a four-sided ring. And that doesn't make any sense to me that it's smaller.
So one thing that did happen this week on TNA is TNA crowned a new champion on Impact this last week. Eddie Edwards defeated Bobby Lashley, the Destroyer, to become the new TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Now, is this Eddie's first run at the TNA World title?
Yes, okay. He has been exclusive. Well, he was a tag team wrestler until Davey got hurt, and then he was the X Division champion for a moment, and now he's the world champion. He became the world champion, scripted or whatever, 5 days after losing in the finals of the Grand Championship.
So you lose, and your punishment is, here's a shot at the bigger title.
Yeah, because the storyline was that Lashley got to pick his opponent, and he said Eddie Edwards would be the easiest one, so he picked him. But and as far as the storyline purpose, I guess it was good. But my whole thing is, I believe it was the final death knell in what will be known as TNA wrestling, because what you're trying to do is draw people. You're trying to make them watch TV. And I don't know one person outside of the wrestling world who would know who Eddie Edwards is. And you look at Eddie Edwards, he's athletic. He does not look like a world champion. I mean, he doesn't really even do a lot of cool moves. I mean, there's nothing about Eddie Edwards. If I see Eddie Edwards in a match, not knowing who he was, I'm not going to say, here, please take my money. I'm going to say, yeah, this is an independent promotion where the smaller guy, he's probably the best wrestler in the company. That's what I would think, not knowing him, because they put the title on him. He's training or something. So I just thought Eddie Edwards going over the possible way, and as long as he's not going heel, there was no real way Eddie Edwards the title should have been put on him.
I think maybe they did it for shock. I mean, no one expected Eddie Edwards, I think, to become the TNA champion. And I don't mind small. In fact,
and then there's good shock.
True.
You just had Cody Rhodes debut, a name people in wrestling know. So put it on somebody. Why not put it on the Cody Rhodes, his first night in the company? That makes way more shock value and sense, and it's at least a name people know.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think they're going to put, let's say, even if assuming that the whole sale thing with TNA was going on, I don't think they would put their world title on Cody Rhodes, knowing the fact that he is going to be on Ring of Honor television here in a couple months, and he is wrestling everywhere in God's green earth, and probably someday wants to get back to WWE after he proves himself on the Indies. So from that standpoint, you're not going to go, yeah, let's put our belt on this guy, because then it goes back to the whole problem. One of the TNA's biggest downfalls is they have bent over backwards to put over former WWE stars.
Yeah, they give a jobber, Damian Sandow, their new shiny belt. I just didn't get that.
Well, see, I never thought of Sandow as a jobber. I thought of him as a guy who just Vince and company didn't understand and had a lot more talent than he was ever given the opportunity to show. And I mean, we'll see what happens going forward with him. I still think that Grand Championship thing is stupid.
I agree, but it was a vehicle to even more try to get the fringe MMA wrestling fans. That is why I would, the first champion I would have had as my grand champion is Bobby Lashley. I would have had him lose the world title and then win the grand championship, because if you're trying to get that MMA crossover crowd, Bobby Lashley is an actual MMA fighter. So I thought that would make more sense.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I just think have compelling stories and good matches, and everything else, should take care of itself.
It would take care of itself when it comes to me and you. Like I said, with wrestling, it's great to have the loyal fans. You can count on our dollars. But honestly, more and more loyal fans are going to streaming sites where they don't have to pay for it.
Right.
And then more and more, I mean, I hear that more from loyal fans than the people who are paying the $9.99 a month are the pretty much don't know those streaming sites exist. They are very much the casual WWE TNA fan. That's who you're going after.
Yeah, I just see, to me, I think in the long run, you got to make your actual loyal fan base happy, because really they're also the people who are spending money to go to the shows.
That is true.
You make them happy. You make a compelling product, and they will turn around and tell their friends that maybe have never watched wrestling or haven't watched it in years, and get them to tune in. That's why it got so successful in the 90s. Actual real wrestling fans started talking to their other friends, going, "Have you seen this crap? This is incredible. You got to come watch this." And that's how that grew. And you had at the time two companies putting on, to varying different degrees, compelling products. I mean, at some points one was doing really well and the other one was mediocre, and then it would flip flop. But overall, you had compelling television and compelling stuff when you went to the events, and they need to do more of that. Don't just worry about putting out a good, consistent product, and the audience will come. And let's hope that Billy Corgan, when he buys all of this, will have an audience that will come to him. Now, I'm also wondering if he is going to be able to keep the Pop TV contract, because if he loses TV, unless he has, an in with WWN Live or somewhere else, he's starting from scratch. And at that point, it's whatever new thing he makes. It's just any other indie promotion out there. He might as well be, even the bigger ones, even your AAWs or your Big Time Wrestlings or your PWGs. They'll just be one of those, which are really, almost beloved organizations, but they have no presence on TV.
Well, you have his name. His name sells a lot. And you have Big John Gubrick. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He as the dude running it, and he ran it for WWE for a lot of years. So you have an infrastructure there. And as far as a wrestling product, I think he'll be able to get the initial TV deal. Spike TV wants a wrestling show. TNA just wasn't bringing in ratings. So I think he could get on something like Spike as a shot, as a premiere, and see what happens.
I wonder why Spike hasn't gone after Ring of Honor at all.
Because it wasn't drawing.
Yeah, that's true.
They were on there. They were on Spike.
No, they were on Destination America.
Oh, okay. It wasn't drawing. I mean, they want you to draw.
Yeah, it's, to be fair, for Ring of Honor to draw on a major network, not only are they they need an influx of money, because they're making enough money to keep doing what they're doing and be solvent and to be a successful organization at that size. To move up, they're going to need a big influx of money to make the show just look better. It looks better than it used to, but they need to make it look better. They need to add up the production value, and they're going to have to change the way they film and present their shows on TV so it's not so out of touch with what's going on in the house shows, which is something you and I have discussed before. And in order to do all of that, that's going to be a pretty big systematic change in the way they do things in Ring of Honor, and they would need a lot of money to do that, and Lord knows that Sinclair, their owners, aren't willing to do that, because I think they just look at this and go, hey, it's making money, great.
Yep. I mean,
So, but
there's nothing else that can be said. I mean, as long as it's making money, they're fine.
Yeah. So any other final thoughts on TNA before we move on?
I'm Corgan, and I am going to start a new company. I would make 4 signings. I would get CM Punk, and then I would get Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. Those are the biggest names in wrestling that are not in WWE, and I would launch my company based on those people.
Well,
that's my only.
Damn it! You bring this up, and now it makes me think of something. So, who does he sign? Does he automatically get all the contracts? See, now to really wipe the stink away, he's got to get rid of the announcers. They suck. That commentary team is awful. They got to go. Mike Tenay better not show up again, because God love the man, but he's awful. Go.
I love Mike Tenay, so
I like him as when he was the counterpoint to Tony Schiavone. He was really good. Mm-hmm. When he was up there as the main voice, there's something about his voice that grates on my nerves.
Well, see, I was to say, there's nothing he can do about that. That's his voice, but his voice doesn't bother me. I actually listen. I actually like when he does Taz's top 10s and stuff like that, and he's on there. I make sure I listen.
Yeah, but okay. So those are big signs. I mean, you could get. Because, CM Punk's probably going to get dropped from UFC any day now. I don't know. I see more likely him showing up back in Ring of Honor than anywhere else. But anywhere he shows up, man, when that music hits, people...
I heard he was good with money. I say offer him a percentage of the company.
Well, he's good with money right now. He's getting the bejesus suit out of him by WWE.
But he's also suing the bejesus out of WWE too,
which could you go into that fight though long term. Let's say he has $5, $6, $10 million sitting in the bank. How many billions does WWE have as a corporation?
Yeah,
who's winning that court battle? If nothing else, if all they want to do is keep it in court to destroy Punk's wealth, they can do that, and he's stubborn enough to sit back and let them do that. So, but I think you bring in CM Punk, signing away the Young Bucks from Ring of Honor is, I don't know. They've got such a sweet position where they are right now with Ring of Honor and New Japan,
and they keep all the merchandising
right. And also with PWG, they get to go there. Kenny Omega loves Japan. Getting Kenny Omega out of Japan is going to be really, really hard. Because, I mean, the WWE probably wants to try to get him back.
Yeah, but the WWE is not going to offer him a ton of money. That's what I'm saying. is your investment should be, you should build your company on those 4.
Yeah. So who of the current TNA roster do you keep?
Drew Galloway, he's money.
Yeah.
Definitely the American Wolves, but only as a tag team.
Agreed.
The Hardys, if you can get them, but they seem intent on trying to get back into WWE. I'm just thinking off the top of my head right now. Damian Sandow, I like him. I just don't buy him as a legit wrestler. It's not because of the WWE ruined me on him. It's just that he doesn't really do anything special. He doesn't draw me in. And let's see. I'm just thinking of the roster right now. Because like the women's division used to be really good. Now it's pretty much crap. So I would only sign like Gail Kim. And of course you'd have to bring Maria because you bring in Mike Bennett.
Yeah.
And I love Mike Bennett. And if you could somehow get the whole kingdom back together, that would be awesome.
Yes. You could, because I mean, you could even have, if you could get Taven and Cole and Bennett together with Maria and have them, you could have them feud with Broken Matt.
Yeah. Since
Matt Hardy was originally in the kingdom at one point. That would be cool. I would rather, and you know, I'm hoping that Corgan can pull this off and turn this around and really get rid of that stench of TNA. I would much rather see Adam Cole show up in NXT or at the Royal Rumble or something. I think he has so much potential. Of all the people in Ring of Honor, the 2 people who have the most big-time potential are easily Adam Cole and Jay Lethal. And they both need to be signed by WWE like yesterday.
Well, I'm just saying, if you're trying to build a company that you eventually want to compete with the WWE, you're going to have to sign names.
Yeah, and I mean, so from, let's see, if we're keeping that, going with that, I would say you'd want to get, well, from TNA, I would say you keep Drew Galloway, you keep Damian Sandow, you keep the Wolves, but again, like, I agree, as tag team, I think they're great as a tag team. I know Davey Richards has had a lot of single success over the years. He was a TNA or an ROH world champion. I think he was an Evolve champion at one point. So I know he's had a good singles career, but kind of like Christopher Daniels, I think he's really found himself in tag team wrestling. So I think you keep the Wolves. You keep you keep Mike Bennett and Maria, and you keep Gail Kim and the Hardys, because Broken Matt is fantastic, and then you get rid of everybody else. I mean, you could let Cody come in for a few shots, but everyone knows Cody Rhodes is coming in for a cup of coffee to get some experience, and then he's going away, and that's fine. Then I would sign, if I was going to, you know, try to build a company from scratch, the people I would look to sign, I would definitely look at the Young Bucks. I agree with that. Kenny Omega, Adam Cole, Ricochet,
definitely.
Dalton Castle. I would also get Angelico from Lucha Underground and AAA. Matt Cross, who's known as Son of Havoc in Lucha Underground, he is incredible.
He is.
So those are the guys I would get. And if you could somehow pry the Briscoes away from Ring of Honor, but I would try to get people from all over. Let's bring in some big people from Japan, bring in some big people from Ring of Honor, bring in some people from Lucha Underground and AAA. And really get some of those top stars. And if you are bringing anyone in who's former WWE, you know, like at this point you don't have to think of Galloway as a former WWE guy. He's established himself enough on the independents, and maybe even look to England. They're doing some crazy stuff out there in Great Britain with their wrestling. See about getting a Zack Sabre Jr. bring him in. Or if they could sign Kota Ibushi, that would be huge, because he is awesome, and that would be a hell of a signing.
It was interesting. I saw a thing where he said the WWE kept offering him more money, and he literally looked at them and told them, "I don't wrestle for money." I was like, "Wow."
He must be well off.
Or he just doesn't really care about money a lot.
Yeah, well, he doesn't have kids, so...
Yeah, and look, I mean, you do get to it. I know people that I work with that they just enjoy their job, and they really don't care about money. Money's nice to have, but they don't care. You can't... If they're not comfortable doing something, just because you add another zero doesn't make them jump at it. They do what they want when they want. CM Punk's the same way. Him main eventing WrestleMania was never about money. It was about respect. It was about being the man at the show, but it was never about money. Because he had one of the highest guarantees in the WWE. Wasn't about money with him.
Yeah. That's true. Well, I think we have TNA'd this sucker to death.
I was going to say, I think I think we've talked about as much as we can, because,
So do we want to talk about Raw, SmackDown? We want to go through some No Mercy predictions? What do you want to do?
Let's go with Raw.
Let's go with Raw. Okay, so what are your thoughts on Raw?
Raw, opening segment. I know we're not doing the whole segment thing, but the opening segment with Roman Reigns and Rusev, I thought that was a great way to start the show. And they were in LA, so it actually got the crowd into it, and that crowd was pretty hyped for the night. LA disappointed me so hard, they completely shit on the cruiserweight match. Like, completely took a dump on it. Like, they're doing the random chants, they're completely quiet.
Which crew was that for the...
TJ Perkins and Brian Kendrick, the
championship. Yeah,
they completely shit on that match.
I got to say, WWE has so far, the cruiserweights on Raw getting an F. They're screwing the pooch on this thing bad. They're not taking the everything that WCW did right with cruiserweights on Nitro. It's like they're doing the opposite.
They don't have Mauro Ranallo or Mike Tenay. The big thing with those dudes is that they got over how good they were worldwide. And they talked about their moves, and they really sold their moves, and that was a big part of the CWC, is that Mauro Ranallo, Daniel Bryan did as much for the CWC as the in-ring work did. And now you have Michael Cole, who most people hate calling matches anyway, and Corey Gray trying his hardest to catch that magic that the CWC had, but he doesn't have anybody to bounce it off of.
Yeah,
he's even calling some of the moves, because we all know Michael Cole doesn't know the move names. He's actually even calling some of the moves during the match, which is something I pay attention to and someone else wouldn't. But I even see it. He would say, like, the wrecking ball drop kick, or he would use, I can't even say all the names, the Conhiso. He would say all of that because he knew Michael Cole wouldn't commit that to memory. And the fact of the matter is, the calling of the matches is doing a disservice to the cruiserweight division.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. Michael Cole's just got to go. He can do other things in the company. He can be their primary interviewer backstage, give him a show on the network, something, but he has got to go. I know Vince loves him because he's Vince's bitch, and he will do whatever Vince says. Just like if you've ever heard any of those some behind the scenes stuff, there was some audio that leaked that was Cole talking to McMahon during a commercial segment, and he started to defend himself about the way he said something, and then you heard him go, "Okay, yes sir, okay sir, yes sir." It's like, damn, dude, take your balls with you, please. This is embarrassing. But yeah, Corey Graves I think is great. I like Byron Saxton. I just think he's funny, but they've got to get someone else in there in that main position because his Cole is just god awful, and yeah, he's ruining the cruiserweights. I did like that the opening, the stuff with Roman Reigns and Rusev, even though it took me a minute to figure out when Lana comes out. He's like, and she's like, "You go to hell." It's like, oh, it should have hit me immediately that they're going to Hell in a Cell, which I kind of figured that was going there anyway, because Hell in a Cell is supposed to be to blow off a big feud, and what's the closest thing we really have to a blood feud right now that's going on right now? Rusev and Roman Reigns. So that makes sense to put that one in the cell. But yeah, I thought it was a very good segment. It was a good way to open the show. It was so yeah, I enjoyed that. Yeah, you're right. LA did take a big fat dump all over the cruiserweights. With the exception of there was a good response for T.J. Perkins when he came out. He's from Los Angeles. He got a good pop, and then after that, it went downhill. And to be fair, it wasn't the best match these two guys I think could have had. You can definitely tell they were being told to hold back. Because can you imagine if those two had a match during the Cruiserweight Classic? Or you put those two, say, at an NXT TakeOver, and the kind of match you would get, it would be ridiculous. I mean, for Pete's sake, Brian Kendrick pulled out a burning hammer on Kota Ibushi. I mean, these guys are so much better than this. And that's when I heard that the Cruiserweights were going to Raw, the only thing that made sense about it is, well, Raw's 3 hours. Otherwise, that needs to be on SmackDown. Because that show is designed as a wrestling show. And with that announced team, with the exception of poor David Otunga, who just seems like a fish out of water, and even JBL, he's much better playing off Mauro Ranallo, but just having Mauro Ranallo there, calling those matches would be so much better, and I think they could do more in their matches on SmackDown. But yeah, then there was another Cruiserweight match, was there not? It was damn it.
Tony Nese versus Can You Handle This? Rich Swann.
Oh, Rich Swann, who I love Rich Swann, but that was I don't even think Nese has a contract yet, and he got the win, but yeah, I mean, as bad as the crowd did not care about the title match, they really gave no shits about this match.
Yeah, and I hate Tony Nese's finisher. It's like a pump handle Michinoku driver, and it comes off really clunky.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many other ways, and really, do you want him doing that move when Metalik uses a version of the Michinoku driver that actually looks awesome? Mm-hmm. And actually, Dana Brooke uses a version of the Michinoku driver that doesn't look awesome. But so this is now 3 people on the Raw roster whose finishing move is a variation of the same move. Let that sink in.
Yeah, they gotta fix that.
They gotta fix that. But I like Tony Nese. I think he's a big looking dude. You would think he was bigger than, a cruiserweight, which means one of two things. Either they really inflate the weight of some of these guys. He's 257 pounds, and
no, he's really short.
That must be it. That's got.
He's like 5'6". But he's like the most put together 5'6" dude I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. So what else was big on Raw to you?
Jericho and the New Day. I'm not going to go too much in it, but their promo was that whole Jericho and the New Day going back and forth. How Xavier was pulling up that he didn't want to get put on the list. I laughed my ass off doing that.
That was great.
He was like, no. He really sold that he didn't want to be put on the list.
Yeah, I love the list. I think that is such a great gimmick, and these 5 guys work so well together. But it kind of screams of, we have nothing to do with any of you. We have nothing going on right now, so if nothing else, we know that this will make people laugh. So we're going to put the 5 most entertaining people we have on this show out together, and thank God they have good chemistry.
Ashton Kutcher and Danny Masterson made an appearance that was wasted, and I think they could have. I don't know if they just couldn't get them to do anything. It just could have made way more of a difference if they got physical at some point. I mean, maybe cost Kevin Owens the match or whatever. It just made the headlines for the week, because after the show, I didn't even hear about Danny Masterson and Ashton Kutcher being on that show. On that show all week. It didn't make national news. So to me, anytime you have a celebrity appearance and it doesn't make national news, that was a wasted celebrity appearance.
Agreed. Yeah, it was. I mean, they kind of had a decent little back and forth there, but yeah, it just was. They were there. Now, was there anything before we get
Zara and Sheamus has fallen flat with me.
There was something. I actually. God, I'm glad you reminded me of that. This not having notes, I forget what I watched. But I kind of enjoyed them. And this is the first time I've actually enjoyed seeing Sheamus on my TV in a while. Mm-hmm. So, and the whole Mizdow aspect of Sheamus raises his hand, boo. Cesaro raises his hand, cheer. I thought that was great. It'll be interesting to see where this goes. Do you get the feeling that the folks running Monday Night Raw have really no idea what to do at all right now? It's like They have no storylines. I don't know. And granted, they wonder why the ratings are slipping because they're just throwing shit at walls. Let's put these 2 guys out there. Other than really the main event segment and the Roman Rusev stuff, it was a whole bunch of let's just see what happens.
I think they're really trying to build up that whole Triple H making his appearance and coming back. So they don't want to put Kevin Owens in anything, but right now everything's coming off stale on Raw.
Yeah, and
it sucks because Kevin Owens being world champion is gonna blame it on it, but it's the same thing with CM Punk when he was world champion. They had CM Punk as a world champion, and they put him in a shitty storyline with Chris Jericho, where he was doing the whole trying to get him to drink thing.
Yeah, that's lame.
And it was like that wasn't anything that's gonna, it wasn't gonna do anything to draw ratings. So you give KO this. I don't even know. I don't even know if this is a storyline. I don't even know what's going on. It's just Seth wants to get him, and it's just Seth's kind of hurt, so he can't really get physical. So it's like really, really stale.
Yeah.
So they put him with Jericho to make him somewhat entertaining.
But then we had that main event.
I hate this because I believe it's a little sexism when people say this is one of the best wrestling matches I ever saw. It was an above average wrestling match. I give it a solid B. But it's pretty much the same match they've been having. The same spots. Charlotte added a twist to her moonsault. Other than that, it's the exact same spots.
Yeah, but that you have to admit that looked beautiful.
It looked beautiful, but it's on someone who can't catch her. I'm gonna have a problem with that because Sasha's so small.
Yeah, the only person worse to do that move to would be The Miz.
Yeah,
because he just gets out of the way. He's like, nope, not gonna do that.
Yeah. Sasha is supposed to, you're supposed to catch your person. Like, you're supposed to break their fall. She's just basically taking a 15-foot bump, and she's not going to walk away from it one time. And I'm not talking about death, but I'm talking about injury. And it would suck because she's so talented. She's so out of this world talented, and that it's just, you think they could come up with something else for her to do. I would dig, she could do the suicide dive, and, Sasha could, stop her fall from that, but it's just she's doing this flip and it's all these flips and she barely catches Sasha. It doesn't even look like she hurts her. It looks pretty happening, but the minimal effect of it.
Yeah.
It's just too big of a flip for a little effect. I might be sounding like JR right now because he hates when she does it also, but it's just But if you look at the match, and pretty much you look at the other two matches, it's the same match up until the last 30 seconds, and then the ending changes.
Yeah, I can see that. And some people, you get them in the ring together, and they have many, many matches, and there are some folks that can go in there and have different matches, and there's some folks that every time you put them in there, you're going to get basically the same match. John Cena and Randy Orton, you're going to have pretty much the same match you've had for 15 years.
Yeah.
But John Cena's had, a few different matches with AJ Styles. They've all been different. But then again,
because AJ Styles is not going to put the same product out there twice.
True. I was going to say, then again, it's AJ Styles, for God's sake.
Yeah. What bothered me, I actually liked the match. I actually liked the ending. I actually liked the storyline, the title going back and forth. My was the reaction to the match, how they tried to build it up as the greatest match of all time, and I was like, it was a good match. It was a good match. I was involved. That's great. It was not the greatest match of all time. I saw 8 matches during the CWC that would have destroyed that match. It's just because they were girls, they gave them and what I'm trying to do as on this podcast in my like I treat men. And if those were 2 men wrestling, I would have gave that match a solid B.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is, a lot of it has to do, I think, with the emotion that people get when they're watching Sasha. Sasha is so good at drawing you in and making you feel every win. And she's just spectacular at that. Bayley's also really good at that. But yeah, I would say it's nowhere near one of the best matches of all time. It's not as good as the match Sasha had, as both the matches Sasha had with Bayley at the Iron Man match, and then the one in Brooklyn. It's nowhere. It doesn't touch either of those. It's not as good as the Fatal 4-Way that was on one of the takeovers with the 4 Horsewomen. That match was spectacular, where Sasha actually won the belt for the first time. It doesn't touch that. It doesn't touch the 3-way, the triple threat match they had at WrestleMania with Becky. So it was good.
It was good.
But
I would have liked her to come out in her Eddie Guerrero garb from WrestleMania if she was going over in the main event. But hey, I think the world of Sasha. I think the world of Charlotte. I think they're great. It's going to put out an A+ match, you know what I'm saying? And
yeah.
when this is the 4th time we've seen them wrestle this year. It's going to be hard to take it to that new level. That's why I was really impressed with AJ and John Cena, because we got their matches 3 times, and they were unique matches that really could say they told a completely different story from the other matches. These two kind of tell the same story, and even before she did the finisher and they did the finish, she did the "You can't beat me" chant. Chick yell at her, and I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
You can't tell the same story. Not in this day and age where everything's recorded and everything's put on the internet. And the worst thing is you have someone like me watching it that pretty much remembers every spot in every match. If you do anything over again, I'm going to be like, you already did that.
Yeah, that's you're right. Then there was the I did like Charlotte's post-match stuff when she was staring up at the Tron in just disbelief.
Yes.
I thought that was good.
That told a really good story.
Yeah. I did think it was really sad, all the close-up pictures of Sasha's hair that happened afterwards, asking about her hair and why her forehead was so big that night. And I'm sure it has something to do with the way her hair was done that night, but I just thought that was just sad. That was a sad commentary on the state of America.
I was going to say that's the world we live in. Batista, Triple H, and Randy Orton, or Evolution versus Shield, was probably one of the best 6-man matches I ever saw in my life. And what did it? What was the big storyline? Batista wore blue pants.
Blue Tista.
Yes, that was the big storyline. one of the best 6-man matches I've ever seen in my life as a wrestling fan. And Blue Tista stole every storyline. It's just a pair of tight show.
Yeah, that is true. They so this. Do you think this is going to lead up to a Hell in a Cell match between Charlotte and Sasha?
I hope not. I sincerely hope not. But this comes from my idea of cage matches. Hell in a Cell used to be a much bigger thing when there was true hate, and I honestly don't think there should be a cage match without color. And I don't think we're at a world where we would accept a woman being busted open in a match. So without that being said, the cage really adds nothing to the match.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone is going to get busted open in a match, it's going to be those two.
Mm-hmm.
I could see them just saying, fuck this, let's do this, let's show them, and then of course getting big fines and screamed at by Vince afterwards. But it might be worth it. A woman bleeding out of her face on TV, not something that would go over well in this world, and it's probably exactly what the WWE needs, because that's when people tune in. Yeah.
The more the parental group, not the right to censor, but the parental group back then, I think it was the PTC, the more they complained, the higher WWE's ratings were. So the whole thing with WWE trying to find that area between TV 14 and PG, they need to do better, because the thing about the WWE, when it's doing ratings, it's in the storylines. And it really, really needs to get more national storylines for bad things. Really bad things that are happening in their show.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I suspect that we will see those two in a cell. If we do, I hope to God that, one, they both walk away alive, especially Sasha, because she's been known to take stupid ass bumps. But if they do, she's going off the top of that cage at some point. That crazy chick.
She'll win and then have to be out for the next month, and they'll have to do a tournament.
I hope not.
Because she's injury prone, and I'd rather them just be going to do their first ever women's ladder match. I am down for. But to me, even with Rusev and Roman, I'm saying the same thing. If their cage match, if their Hell in a Cell doesn't have color, and the cage is not used like it's supposed to be used, I'm going to shit all on it. I'm going to just say it was horrible, because I'm coming from a world where there was Lex Luger and Dusty Rhodes in a cage, and they both had Crimson Mask. And I'll come from a world when Ric Flair and Sting did it. And it's like Sting had face paint, but he was still bleeding. That's what's supposed to happen. It's a cage. It's supposed to be your complete animal nature coming out. That's what the story of the cage is. You had to lock these two animals out, because that's the only way that they can solve their problems. And the WWE keeps trying to keep cage matches TV PG, and it just annoys the shit out of me if you can't hear it in my voice now.
Yeah. I think one of the things that they run into is when they turn a gimmick match into a pay-per-view, it can be troublesome. Now, whereas Money in the Bank makes sense, you have once a year, you have a pay-per-view where you have this match, which can give the winner of the match gets a title shot whenever they want. That is a great pay-per-view gimmick match. That is perfect. Having the entire pay-per-view based around that. I don't quite even mind the TLC pay-per-view as much, but Hell in a Cell has got to go. That Hell in a Cell needs to be used for, sparingly for complete blood grudge feuds. Like someday, I'm sure we're going to get Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn in a cell, and hopefully they will let those two guys just go at it and do the kind of brutal match we know they're capable of.
Yeah, I'm talking package pile driver. I'm talking the brain buster. I'm talking about bring out their whole catalog of moves and damn near kill each other.
Right, exactly.
And that would make me happy. And it shouldn't be something that happens more than once a year. I'm not saying everybody should get dropped on their head. I'm saying this should happen once a year and during Hell in a Cell, and you just really let the guys go.
Right. But I would actually rather them get rid of the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view and have the October pay-per-view be Halloween Havoc. Let's bring back the Halloween Havoc name, and because the whole point of Hell in a Cell is it's somewhat Halloween-y sounding, so that's why we stick it in October. Let's just not have that match every year, because it's not natural to have all your blood feuds end in October. That's not the way life works. So bring it back like they did at WrestleMania with Undertaker and Shane. Just every once in a while, let's have Halloween Havoc on in October, and let that be the theme for the pay-per-view, and just be done with it. And that way, that would honestly free them up creatively, because right now they're so stuck in, okay, we have to get at least one feud into a cell come October. So why bother with that? Let's give this creative team some more freedom to just let stories go where they need to go. But that's just me.
I agree.
Well, let's move on to SmackDown. SmackDown does have a pay-per-view tonight, the No Mercy. Do you have any thoughts from SmackDown this week?
Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton, that pretty much was the theme of the whole show. And, it was going on through the whole show, and I just thought it was really done well. I like that they're bringing kind of psychotic Randy Orton out, and it looks like he's having a great time doing it. And that's adding so much more to the character, and it's fresh. I'm really, like I said, I saw someone on the wrestling group that I'm in said it looks like they're heading towards Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton being together in a group. And I was like, man, if that's the twist that happens, that would be amazing. Because you see Randy kind of growing the beard and the Wyatt-esque beard, and I was like, huh.
Oh, now that would be cool.
I was like, that could be cool. I didn't even see it. He said the show was like leaning towards that, and I was like, I didn't really take it that way, but this is amazing. I mean, if they use that, that's awesome. But yeah, I was like, that they've kind of found a kindred spirit, someone that's just as crazy as they are, and I'm like, that would be great.
That would be great, because I think Bray works best with a group. And if you're not going to give him back Luke Harper, let's give him someone new to bounce off with. And I think Randy Orton would be a great. I mean, after the feud, I don't know what you do with the two guys. I think SmackDown's biggest dilemma is, their 13-person roster. You run out of people for these guys to fight. But yeah, real quick before I forgot to mention, there was something else I wanted to talk about on Raw. If we could just jump back for a sec. So Braun Strowman destroyed another jobber, and then he got on the mic and says he wants some real competition. Who do you think they're going to send out against him, and who would you like to see them send out?
They're going to send out the Big Show, and I would like the more of the storyline I would like is that Mick Foley doesn't come up with anybody and he just starts destroying everybody. That would be more of the storyline I'm interested in.
I could see that. Yeah, Big Show. Yeah. I mean, that would actually make sense. They're going to have to feud at some point. Big Show's going to have to pass over the big man, monster, giant mantle to Strowman at some point if Strowman's career is going to be worth a poop. So yeah, that makes perfect sense. I could see. If they were ready to call up Samoa Joe, I could see Joe come out. But do you want Joe to come out and get murdered? Because Joe would have to. If they're going to bring out Joe, Joe needs to kill him.
Yeah.
And then there's also we've heard rumblings that Luke Harper is going to head to Raw, which just makes me go, why? Because they're going to not do anything worth a poop with him on Raw, I suspect. But you could have Luke Harper go out and attack him. But again, if you're going to do that, you don't want to kill Luke Harper, because Luke Harper is 10 times better than Strowman is. So yeah, I think Big Show is the best way to go, because Big Show doesn't matter, man. Big Show gets beaten by Strowman, it makes Strowman look good and does nothing to Big Show. So
that doesn't hurt the Big Show at all.
Yeah, I agree. So back to SmackDown. So yeah, if they brought Harper to SmackDown, I could see a new group that is Bray and Luke and Randy. That would be entertaining. Anything else? The Ziggler Miz stuff has been really good.
See, I don't know. It's just the Miz's part where he was doing the promo mocking him, but Dolph Ziggler just constantly says the same shit, and it's like, I know he's better than what he is. It's like, if you can't see my hands, but my expectations are way up here with the Ziggler. Like, my expectations are a 9, and he gives me a 4 every time. So,
well, did anything else from the show stand out to you?
The Usos, love them as heels. Love them in the whole situation that they're doing now. They have to end with the belts. They have to. I love them as heels right now.
And we'll get to predictions here in a second.
I wouldn't even. That wasn't even a prediction. That wasn't even a prediction for tonight's show. I'm saying in general, they need the belts on them at some point. It just, they're heel characters. It's going to make whoever takes it away from them eventually look like gods.
Yeah.
So
and that
is why they have to have the belts.
Agreed. The thing I think I enjoyed the most was the main event segment, the standoff with Styles, Dean Ambrose, and John Cena. And what I loved is when Cena finally got out there and Risey's about to start talking, AJ shuts him up and gets in his face. And then AJ says his piece, and then Cena's about to start talking. Dean Ambrose got in his face and shut him up. And I thought that was so well done.
Yeah.
And they all three walked away. I mean, granted, despite the fight at the end, I thought they all looked so good in this. And it really looked like they were getting underneath Cena's skin.
Yeah. Dean has been going at him, like, really, really strong. And I think Dean has done his best mic work with his talking shit on John Cena, because he's brought out some stuff that normally people don't say. In the whole 0 sick days, I didn't even realize Ambrose had missed a day towards injury. I didn't even realize it. And now that I am, I mean, I respect it more. I respect his style more because it's supposed to come off unpredictable, but it's very predictable. You know what he's going to do, but it still comes off with that unpredictable type of nature. I think they're gonna put a magical match together tonight. Like, for real, I really think they're gonna steal the show tonight. I mean, even though they're in the main event, you can't really steal the show when you're a main event. I think let me just say this: they're gonna tear their house down. We're gonna end with that, and it's gonna be great.
All right, well, so let's go ahead and get into predictions for tonight. No Mercy, which is, where's that gonna be out of? Sacramento, California. So the show is going to open up in the pre-show with the match I know we're all dying for: Jack Swagger against Baron Corbin.
If Jack Swagger doesn't wrestle his normal Jack Swagger style, this can be a really good match because he has a lot of talent. Baron Corbin has a lot of talent, and they're both, like I said, I'm lost on how big Jack Swagger is until you see him stand next to Baron Corbin. Because Corbin's 6'8", very much 6'8", NFL Combine 6'8", so that means they measured him with no shoes on, 6'8". Jack Swagger is every bit as tall as he is. So they can really, really put together a type of match. If whoever the agent is on the match puts it together and makes them press outside of their comfort zone, we can get a good match tonight.
My big hope for this is that Swagger comes out with new ring gear.
Yeah.
And I think this match could be a lot better than people are going to give it credit for, because just on paper you look at this and you're like, oh, what the hell? Really? But as far as it's a matchup that makes sense, I think having these two guys feud is actually a good idea. I think Corbin in NXT, he was the most improved. Well, he was the most improved wrestler, I think, last year, period. He's gotten really stale and stagnant since he's been, on the main roster. And just some of that, I think, is he's still exceptionally green. And he has a real hard time expressing himself verbally. There's something... And, in a way, he also kind of has a bit of a lisp. So this is almost going to be a lisp off between these two guys. God, that came off so mean. I don't mean that as mean. I'm not, trying to be a dick to them or anything.
I mean, it's a medical condition. We understand.
Yeah. But, yeah, who do you think's going to win?
Thinking they're going to put Corbin over, but I think the better storyline is Swagger comes out with some kind of surprising victory.
Yeah.
Not kind of dominating, but like a roll-up or something, and Corbin gets really pissed.
Agreed. I think, especially if you're going to have this feud go on for a while, Swagger needs to win. He needs to win out of nowhere. So my vote's going for Swagger. We then have Kurt Hawkins making his SmackDown Live debut against, according to Wikipedia, to be announced. Who do you think they're going to put him in there against?
I don't know.
James Ellsworth?
Kalisto?
I want James Ellsworth to come back. The no-chin jobber guy.
Yeah.
That would be entertaining. But you do that, he would be far more over than Kurt Hawkins.
Yes.
So is this a one and done for Kurt Hawkins? Is he coming in? Is he going to get just killed by whoever he faces? Is this an opportunity to debut someone from NXT?
I don't know. It's just, I think he'll fight a jobber, and just knowing the WWE, get his character over as he can do anything type thing. Like I said, I would have liked something with the whole Zack Ryder side of it, but if they're just bringing him out and he's debuting tonight, I think he'll just debut. I honestly think it'll be like Kalisto or someone like that, someone with a name, but he'll win clearly.
He's probably going to, and you're right, it's probably going to be over somebody like Kalisto, who we haven't seen in a long time. I would much rather this be an opportunity to bring out somebody new, for somebody from NXT, and have that person win. Can you imagine, and who knows how the crowd would react, but how cool would it be is if Hideo Itami's music hits. He comes out...
I don't think anybody should come up for NXT for a while. I'm thinking NXT is struggling to establish their brand now, and you're really starting to see them establish some of the new characters. There's no one to call up right now, to me.
True. That having been said, SmackDown's also... SmackDown is this conundrum. You look at this, you're like, they have 12 people. They make a much more compelling show each week than Raw does, with a much bigger roster, and which you could argue a better roster on paper. SmackDown has been a consistently better show, but what's going to happen when we finish this set of feuds? That's where the thinness of this roster is going to come into play. So
that is the thing that we have, is that they only have to put on an hour and a half show every week. I mean, hour and 20 minutes. I think that's what SmackDown comes at when you take out all the commercials. And most importantly, is the guy that writes the SmackDown show, the head writer, was the NXT writer. So he was used to having a thin roster, and he was used to only having an hour and 20 minutes to tell a story. And he did a really good job then. And I'm seeing it now, because he's taking a lot of the same pieces and moving them around.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. I would pop big time if Hitami came out and destroyed Kurt Hawkins and hit a GTS. That would be so
But
cool.
Then at that point, you have to keep him in the main roster.
You can have them in both for a while.
Yeah, that's true. But like I said, it's just at the point where NXT, you're really establishing your new roster, and at that point, yeah, I wouldn't call anybody up for a while. But that's it. That's saying if they're working together. And by the draft, I don't believe they're working together, because I just think they just took a whole bunch of people and said NXT, figure it out.
Yeah, sadly. So this takes us to Nikki Bella versus Carmella.
Carmella, if they're really establishing her as a heel, and she is going to be like the next person against the title, she needs to win. Bella sells stuff, so that's the only reason they give her the win in the match to me.
Yeah, I think Carmella needs the win. Bella doesn't.
Because it doesn't hurt Nikki Bella because no one cares about her as a wrestler.
Exactly. So I think you got to give Carmella the win, which probably means Nikki's going over.
Mm-hmm.
We then have Randy Orton against Bray Wyatt.
I would love to see Bray Wyatt get a pay-per-view win, but this would also put Randy at 2 pay-per-view losses in a row. So, no. He's not going to lose twice in a row.
I think it is going to be a fuck finish in some way so they can continue the feud. It's definitely, if Randy wins, either way, whoever wins, it will not be definitive. I think at the end of the day, Bray needs to win this feud, though. When it all is said and done and the smoke clears, Bray needs to win this feud. Because that's a big deal. If you beat Randy Orton in a feud, that is a big stinking deal. The only way I say Randy Orton wins this feud is if they're going to position Orton to be the next challenger for AJ Styles.
Yes, which would be so cool.
Oh my God, that would be so. The match possibilities those two could have. So you're hoping Bray, and I think, but I think we both agree screwjob finish.
Yeah, but yeah, I would like to see Bray go against. If anyone goes up against AJ next, I would like to see it be Bray. But Randy Orton and AJ could be magic. They are just 2 excellent workers.
Yeah. Well, at some point, if we look at this match and then we look at the main event, those 5 guys really are your main event level folks at this point. You can drop Miz in there, you can drop Ziggler in there from time to time, but the people who are going to live in the main event sphere in SmackDown are AJ Styles, Dean Ambrose, John Cena, Randy Orton, and Bray Wyatt. That is your main event level echelon of SmackDown. So either way, I think at some point we will get Orton challenging for the title. We will get Wyatt challenging for the title. The possibility of either of those guys having a feud with AJ Styles, I think, is fantastic. About the only thing that would be boring as sin to see at this point would be Randy Orton against John Cena. And maybe maybe Bray against Cena. I think otherwise, any of these combination of people, you're going to have something entertaining. Let's move on to the Intercontinental title match. This is a title versus career. The Miz versus Dolph Ziggler.
I think I have decided on this after a week of thinking about it. Dolph goes over in some type of heel way. And I'm not saying they're going to turn Miz heel. They're just going to try to turn Dolph more heel. Yeah, I've been struggling with this one. I'm like, okay, so unless Ziggler is really at the point where he's like, I need to take a break for a while and not be in the ring. I need to go do other things. Then I don't see the point in taking away one of your absolute best workers, not just on this brand, but in the company, period. A guy you can put in the ring with anyone, and you know that he will make that other person look good. I mean, this feud has done wonders for The Miz. It goes back to the promo on Talking Smack where he and Daniel Bryan got into it. But it's continued with this, and I think a lot of that is the fact that everyone watching this knows Dolph Ziggler is a much better wrestler than The Miz. Yes.
It's just hands down, not even close. The Miz is great in what he does, but he's no Ziggler. You couldn't see, this is the big test, could you see The Miz showing up in Ring of Honor or New Japan Pro Wrestling and being successful?
No, not at all.
Could you see Dolph Ziggler showing up in Ring of Honor or New Japan and being successful?
Yes.
Exactly. Apparently New Japan has been wanting Ziggler for a long time. So, yeah, So, I don't know. But I don't see them taking the title off Miz, on the one hand, because there's this part of me that wants The Miz to break Honky Tonk's record. but I know that's still a long way. I mean, you're talking at least 6-9 more months of this.
It would be June pay-per-view is what we figured. It would be the June pay-per-view.
And that, the thing though, if we really want to establish the Intercontinental title as something meaningful, you have someone have a super long-ass title reign. And so, but...
I just had a thought process.
Okay.
And this just came to me, and I think this, it seems very WWE-ish. The Miz has the match. He's getting the upper hand. He kind of wins in some kind of dirty, crappy way, right?
Okay.
Daniel Bryan comes back and restarts the match, right?
Okay.
Dolph Ziggler wins. Dolph Ziggler keeps his career. Tuesday, The Miz comes out, and they don't overturn it, but they give him the belt back. So his streak continues, and Dolph keeps his career.
Ooh. Okay.
Because that's a very WWE way to do it. You build it up as a title versus career match. The title doesn't change hands, and Ziggler keeps his career.
The only problem with doing that is it makes stipulations mean even less than they already do in WWE.
I'm just saying that is pretty much the WWE way to build up a stipulation and completely ignore it in the end.
That's true. So I think at the end of the day, neither one of us really have any idea what's going to happen.
I truly don't, because I could see Dolph being done. He's 36. I could see him being done. I could see him wanting to take a break. He takes the biggest bumps in the company that has to wreck his back and all that kind of stuff. And it's funny. I can mention this. When they took the title off of him after his concussion, they took the title off of him because they said he was injury prone, and he really hasn't been injured since. Which is kind of ironic. That is.
There's a part of me that selfishly wants. I mean, I don't want him to retire because I enjoy watching him. If he was to, quote unquote, retire, I would love to see him show up somewhere else just to see. Can you imagine? So let's say if he ended up in New Japan, and because of being in New Japan, you get to work in Ring of Honor. What if Ziggler had a match against an Adam Cole or a Jay Lethal or Bobby Fish or something? Can you imagine how great that would be?
And he never really had a rivalry with Cody Rhodes. I'm a big Cody fan as far as his in-ring work. I know a lot of people might not be, and you might not know this, but I'm a huge Cody fan as far as his in-ring work. I think he was one of the best workers in the WWE. I would put him right up there with Dolph. But he worked a very WWE style, so you didn't get to see his edge to him. So, Dolph and Cody, I think I would pay to see them wrestle in a bingo hall if that's where they wrestled.
Oh, that would be great. Well, let's move on. So we've got the tag team championships, Heath Slater and Rhino defending against the oh-so-evil Usos. I'm thinking the Usos are going over.
Usos going over by taking out Heath's leg. I see that leading to probably a rematch on SmackDown. With then it leads to the Heath and Rhino feud, which they are inevitably setting up.
Yep, I agree. That's I think how it's going to go down. We then have the women's championship, which actually may not happen, depending on the reports that have been coming out this morning.
I've heard Becky with the good hair is hurt.
Yes, so Becky versus Alexa Bliss. If Becky is hurt. It depends on how long she's going to be hurt for. She's only going to be hurt for a month. You don't strip her of the title.
You do. You'll probably do Alexa versus Naomi just to fill the slot. And Alexa goes over, and it buys more time until the next pay-per-view with building Alexa as the heel to Becky Lynch's face.
Yeah, good idea.
They might even do the Randy Orton Bray thing where Alexa attacks her in the back. Because WWE usually, if they were going to just acknowledge the injury, they generally acknowledge the injury before now. So I think they'll just write her off during the show.
Yeah, good call. So then we've got the main event, AJ Styles defending the WWE World Championship against Dean Ambrose and John Cena. I agree with your earlier assessment. I think this is going to be a hell of a match. And I personally think AJ's retaining.
I think AJ's retaining, but I like to go a little deeper with my predictions. I think Dean's going to cost John Cena the match, and that's going to build up to a really big feud between Dean and John Cena. I know John Cena has to go away to tape his TV show or do his TV show, but he can still work on Tuesdays technically. You know, they fly him in and out. They do that kind of stuff. So I think it's going to set up a big feud between Dean and Cena.
Yeah, and great minds here. I was thinking the same thing. I think coming out of this, AJ is going to go on to someone else's champion. Dean and Cena are going to have a feud because those two really do bring out like really good things out of each other.
And I think it comes from, I'm not saying they hate each other, but I don't think if it might just be how good they are at telling stories. It comes off very much as that they don't actually like each other.
Yeah, in a way, it's almost like the chemistry Cena had with CM Punk.
Yeah,
and so I think I think that has long-term potential. So yeah, that is No Mercy. I think overall it's going to be entertaining. I'm really hoping it only goes about 2.5 hours, like the previous SmackDown pay-per-view went. Let's talk a little bit about NXT. What were your thoughts on NXT this week?
I thought it was a really good show this week.
I did
you
too.
know how I've been down and bored, talking about how bored I am with NXT. I thought it was they've gotten this whole central storyline of Joe against Regal, and I just thought then they added the tag matches in it. I thought they told their most complete. I think they've told their most complete story in a while, and I thought it was from good front to end. It was an actually good episode of NXT. I actually didn't even post it on my group because I wanted them to have to hear it on here. I really enjoyed NXT this week.
I did too. I did too. I think they did a really good job having the poor Bollywood boys just being destroyed by Authors of Pain. I thought was a little sad, but it establishes the Authors of Pain, and the Bollywood boys haven't been established enough yet to really for the loss to matter. And I think they're going to be a good team to keep around long term.
And Authors of Pain can't lose.
Yeah,
they can't. They can't lose anytime soon.
No,
I mean it just runs the character.
Right now, they can't. That having been said, they cannot win this tournament. I think the Revival needs to win it, unless you're going to do what they did last year, which is turn the winners into some kind of other storyline. You really need the Revival to win it, because at this point, there's no one else left. There's no one in this tournament that was really, worked side by side with Dusty. If there's anyone left from that, other than the Revival, they worked with Dusty. So I think they need to win.
I think it's going to be Ciampa and Ciampa. Yeah. I think they're going to win it.
Good
I think they're going to write Authors of Pain out. Maybe not this second round, but the third round, where they just beat the crap out of the team and they get DQ'd that way, where they don't actually have to lose. And Ciampa and they win the tournament, and then it leads to them with the Revival for the tag belts, and I think they beat eventually beat the Revival as the Revival heads up to the main roster.
I like it. We're going with that. That's much better than my idea. Yeah. So the other things that happened there was we had Patrick Clark making his very flamboyant NXT debut on TV at least, and everyone was really shocked. In fact, our graphic for this week is nothing but Rich Swann's face. That look at one point, he had this look on his face like, "What the hell is this?"
Yeah.
But it's such an old style of, hey, let's make fun of the gay folks character.
It's Orlando Jordan, and I'm a big Patrick Clark guy. I loved him on Tough Enough. I met him at Mania this year, and he's just this class act. He has his head on straight type of dude. And when I was following him on Twitter, I was kind of wondering what happened, and then he put it out there. He's like, I'm 20 years old. He's legit, just 20 years old. He's just going to try a lot of different things and see what sticks.
There you go. And the two of them, I thought, had a really good match.
They had a really good match because the kid can work.
Yeah.
I mean, like he can work, and then he would, they're putting Swan over, and someone pointed out to me because I was like, man, this is a very much a poor man Orlando Jordan gimmick, and I really hate it. And they was like, at least he's getting on TV, and they completely changed my mind on the whole thing because if he has to do that kind of gimmick to get on TV, I want Patrick Clark to get better. I want him to get better, so that requires in-ring work.
I wonder how much of that is they've been seeing the success Dalton Castle's had, and said, "Hey, let's dust off this type of character. It's been a while since we've had one of these." And
I'm hoping he's doing a gimmick where he goes through a lot of gimmicks. Like every time we see Patrick Clark, he's in a completely different gimmick, like a Lost Soul type of gimmick.
That would be cool. That would be cool. And I tell you what, it's much better than having the Drifter on my TV.
Yeah. Yeah. Is he still in the company?
I fucking hope not. I
don't know. Let's say I don't want anyone to get fired, but I want him to go away.
Yeah. Let's. Okay, you're right. I concur. I don't wish the man ill, and
I don't want to see him on my TV anymore.
I don't want to see him as the Drifter. Let's do something else with this guy, because the guy, his finishing move sucks, but he can work kind of otherwise. He looks fantastic. He's like if Damian Sandow was actually buff and kind of manly. That's what this dude looks like, and but just doesn't work. Anyway, I really liked the Peyton Royce Billy Kay putting them together on TV finally.
And just throwing this out there, just to add a little color to our Elias Simpson, he did not just go away. He broke his ankle in June, so he's been out indefinitely since then.
Oh, poor guy. Get well, Elias.
Yeah, he broke it at a house show on June 6th. I didn't even know.
Damn.
I was glad he was not on TV, but I hope he heals up well and
Gets a baby. It's a new gimmick. Yeah. Well, thank you for the update on that. But we had Peyton Royce was in a match against somebody. I can't even.
Who was it?
She's a former cheerleader and a dancer, and she wasn't bad. But I think
Peyton Royce and Billy Kay, and I like that they're putting them together. They pretty much have the same body type. They got the really long legs, and they're taller, like 5'9", and they both can work. They've been working for years. They were from Australia, and they worked for years. So, and she looked really good in the match.
Yep.
I don't remember who she wrestled for the life of me.
And I just watched it this morning. It's somebody who's someone new that they're bringing in. I think having the Peyton and Billy together is a great idea. They're best friends in real life, and so whenever you can bring that dynamic onto the screen, I think you can bring a bit out of them, out of the wrestlers. And I've been saying for the longest time that those two are the next two big women stars in NXT because they're really, really good. What else was there? Oh, the main event, we had the Revival going against Andrade Cien Almas and Cedric Alexander. Cedric Alexander is so good.
Yeah, and I mean, I kind of saw the end of this match coming from a mile away. So,
but the good thing about it is that was the most fire we've seen out of Almas, and the best reaction he's gotten. So maybe being a heel is where he needs to be, and he showed potential in. He started showing more fire in his match against Bobby Roode, and then he had that really good match with Cedric, where he showed personality. So maybe finally as a heel, it's going to start to click for this guy, because I think anyone who's been watching NXT and been watching Almas has been wondering, okay, we've heard a lot about this guy as La Sombra. He was supposed to be awesome. This guy is boring. What is so special about this fool?
So vanilla with the double knees. I didn't get it.
Yeah, now granted, those double knees looks like they hurt. Whew.
Yeah.
I would not want to take that at all. But the Revival got the win. The attack afterwards I thought was really good. A couple weeks ago, and I can't remember if it was on an episode that we talked about or not. Oh, and we also forgot the Samoa Joe part, but this ties in. So when the Revival was coming out for a match and Samoa Joe came out and destroyed that tag team, one of the best moments was when, is it Scott Dawson? Which one's the bald one? Is that Scott Dawson or is that Dash Wilder?
Dawson is bald.
Okay, so when Dawson he zipped back up his jacket, it started to back away. That was so I mean, just a little thing like that, because he does that thing. He unzips his jacket and he's coming out and he's getting all, and then they stop. He like zips it back up, nice and quiet. And he's like, "Hey, we got no problems with you, Samoa Joe." And I thought that was wonderful. But yeah, so we had the big reveal of Dan Matha, who just walked out to the ring and looked dumber than a box of rocks, man. Bless this guy's heart. He was the epitome of, can we play football now, coach?
But he was a huge dude, impressive looking dude. And he was everything that the WWE usually forces down your throat. And then to have him completely destroyed by someone that doesn't look like a normal WWE wrestler was just amazing. And the storyline, and I didn't see it coming. There's very few times in wrestling where I'm truly shocked. I was shocked. Yeah. I thought when Joe got in the ring, I thought he was going to toss Joe around a little and that Joe would eventually get the best of him. But no, he got decimated. He might as well have been just a faceless jobber because he got destroyed by Joe.
Yeah. Yeah, now I have to admit, I was spoiled by your post that you did about this. Mm-hmm. So I knew that was going to happen, but it was still fantastic. And it makes you wonder if there's if they're just doing anything with Dan Matha. Am I reading too much into it to think that they already have no confidence in this guy and they were like, well, let's get him on TV once and get rid of him?
No. I think it's building up to Joe versus Matha main event next week.
Okay. Which Joe will win.
No, he'll win, but I'm big on you can still get over and lose. And that's why I hated the Asuka dominating Liv Morgan so much when it happened. It's because you can get someone over and the other person still look better than them. Clearly better than them. So Dan Matha can come out. He gets the spots in, and then Joe wins. And I'm good with that.
Yeah.
As a future star, a big guy and a future star, he had to kind of throws him around a little bit. He'll have to throw Joe around a little bit.
Yeah,
but
he needs to
build him.
He needs to get in at least one really good power move where he throws Joe really far. But yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, the whole Joe thing, just decimating people and calling out Regal is great. But yeah, good episode of NXT, the best one in probably a couple of months. It's definitely since the last takeover.
Yeah, it actually made me very excited about next week, which I haven't been excited about it in the NXT show in a while. And I love what they're doing with having Shinsuke off. I'm like anticipating when he actually returns. It's going to be amazing.
Agreed. So let's move into our top 5 for this week. This was one that you came up with. Top 5 storylines / angles of all time. And before we get into the top 5, did you have any honorable mentions?
Honorable mentions? I honestly didn't think of it, but I'm going to go the Midnight Express versus the Rock and Roll Express. Just that whole gimmick, just that whole feud through the South. It's just what I mean by the whole storyline was just that Jim Cornette, I don't know if you knew this, he wanted the Rock and Roll Express, and they were always the perfect foil for him, and it was just great. That would definitely be on my list of it.
Yeah, those two teams were two of the best teams ever, and they had that scaffold match where Cornette went off the scaffold and actually broke his legs, didn't he?
Yes, because he thought that was the dumbest thing ever. But of course, back in the day, you did stuff anyway, even though you thought it was dumb. Yeah. Another one I just had it is Chris Benoit, Woman, and Kevin Sullivan. I thought that was a great storyline. Not even knowing that it ended up being true in the end. I always liked the whole "you stole my girl" type of storylines, but that was the one that I remember most because they had a Falls Count Anywhere match, and it ended up in the toilet. So
with Dusty Rhodes losing his shit because there was a woman in the men's room.
Yeah,
on commentary. Yeah, that was good stuff. And that was one. I think that was of that time. That was the absolute best thing that came out of that stable that Sullivan had made. The what the fudge was that?
Dungeon of Doom.
Dungeon of Doom, because there were some jokes in that thing. I mean, freaking Brutus Beefcake as something else, even though he's still wearing his beefcake tights. It's like, dude, we know who you are. Just, I don't care that you have some face paint on. You're Brutus Beefcake, man. Stop it. And then the Shark, who was just a big fatty. But then they did have Meng and the Barbarian, who were fantastic. But yeah, that was a good one. So I have one honorable mention, and this is mine are, of this list, I've got, like, they're either, pretty recent feuds or things going back to the 80s and 90s. And my honorable mention was a storyline from last year that involved Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly, where Cole was seemingly leaving the Kingdom and then feuding with them, and Kyle O'Reilly was working toward a match against Jay Lethal for the world title, and then it was during that match that Cole turned on Kyle O'Reilly, allowing Lethal to retain the title and getting back with the Kingdom in full force. It was Adam Cole is one of those guys. In a lot of ways, he's like a Bret Hart in that when he is a heel, you hate him. You still kind of love him because he's awesome, but you kind of hate him. But when he starts to turn babyface, by God, you want him to be good so bad. And that was just a storyline that I enjoyed thoroughly. But I'm a big Adam Cole mark. So what's your number 5?
Number 5 is my childhood feud and how it happened and everything. I like to always establish that was the Von Erichs and the Freebirds. When I was young, I mean, that was like seriously 3-4 years old. When that feud was really established, it was my childhood. Because as long as there was a world-class wrestling, Von Erichs and Freebirds were feuding. They never got along after the feud broke out. You saw Buddy Roberts versus Karen Von Erich, Buddy Roberts versus Michael Hayes, Buddy Roberts, and you saw every combination of that 6-man that you could have, and then there was a 6-man tag belt that they made for that feud, and I just thought Michael P.S. Hayes and the Freebirds were the coolest people on this planet. I mean, I watch old videos now, and I was like, dude, he was kind of a chubby guy with long hair and had the patch of chest hair, and it was just like he looked horrible now. But when I was young, they were, when I was young, they were everything to me. It was like I was truly conflicted because I liked both sides. I mean, I remember my dad used to just grab me randomly and throw me in the Iron Claw, and it was just like I loved the Von Erichs and I loved the Freebirds. I loved both sides of the feud.
Oh, that was a good one. I have memories of watching them as well. My number 5 is also from my childhood, from the 80s. It was Ricky Steamboat and Randy Savage, which culminated at WrestleMania 3. But that first match they had, I think it was either on Superstars or Saturday Night's Main Event, where Savage attacked Steamboat's neck. And he draped him on the...
Jumped off the top ropes with the bell.
With the bell, yes. And that was so brutal. That was one of the most brutal things I'd really seen up to that point. It was one of the most brutal things WWE had certainly done up to that point. And these two guys, two of the greatest wrestlers of all time in ring work, easily. And they had such good chemistry. And, I mean, what else is there to say about that match at WrestleMania 3? It's one of the greatest matches of all time. It was picture perfect. It was beautiful. You can watch it to this day, and it looks great. And I love Ricky Steamboat. He was the quintessential babyface. And yeah, this one was such a satisfying ending. And only the poor guy, then his wife had a baby, and he was like, "Hey Vince, can I take a month off to be with my newborn?" And it's like, "We're taking the title off you." And Honky Tonk Man's walking down the hall, and Hogan goes, "Give it to that guy." Okay. And that's how that whole thing ends up going down. And
and the whole thing was that was still the back in the day where great matches were between great wrestlers always ended in a roll-up. And he kind of hit the knee and rolled him up, and that was good wrestling.
It was. It was so good. All right, what's your number 4?
Number 4, again from the 80s, joins the Four Horsemen.
Okay, so, I'm sorry, we cut out a little bit. What was that one again?
Barry Windham joins the Four Horsemen.
Oh, yes.
What the storyline is, Luger was with the Horsemen, and Barry Windham had basically been telling him he didn't want to be in the Horsemen, and he shouldn't do this, and through the Horsemen kind of turned on, and Lex Luger turned on Tully and Arn, and then him and Barry Windham won the tag belts. And they were the tag champions. I think it was like through 2-3 months or something like that, and they were beating everybody, and they were a great-looking tag team. As far as it was Barry Windham and Lex Luger. Barry Windham did all the work, and Lex Luger was the power. It was awesome. Well, then it happened. The rematch with Tully and Arn. Barry Windham turns on Lex Luger and lets Arn and Tully win the titles back. And he joins the Four Horsemen to get my favorite combination of the Four Horsemen with Ric Flair, Arn and Tully, Barry Windham, and of course J.J. Dillon. That was the best wrestling group that they had.
Well, that's Flair's favorite incarnation of the group as well.
Yes.
Yeah, oh man. Barry Windham in the 1980s was one of wrestling's most unsung heroes.
Yes.
He was such a great worker, and he was so tall.
Yeah.
Oh, and his flying lariat finishing move was so cool.
Yeah, especially back then, because there not a lot of people did high flying moves, and he was tall, and he would just bounce off the ropes, and he would just spring and hit that flying lariat, and that was it. And he was the Western Heritage Champion in WCW.
Western States Heritage Champion, yeah.
Western States Heritage Champion. And it was like people talk about there were too many belts. At that time in the WCW, there was a world title, there was a TV title, there was a U.S. title, there was the Western States Heritage title, and there was a light heavyweight title. There was 5 singles titles back then.
And there was a tag team title. Did they still have the U.S. tag team title at that point?
And they had the U.S. tag team titles, yeah.
But at that point, that was still when WCW was still kind of acting as the NWA.
Yeah.
And so they were bringing in, the Western States Heritage Championship was really a regional title, honestly. That was like the Southern Heavyweight Championship in Florida. But yeah, Barry Windham is just, if I really was ever to put together an exhaustive like top 10 favorite wrestlers of all time, he's in that top 10 somewhere. Because I just think he was so good and severely underrated. My number 4 is from the 1990s. It was from WCW, and it was Booker T and Chris Benoit. They had a best of either 5 or 7.
It was 7.
7 to get a shot at the world television title, and this thing was awesome. And it was just, all the matches were really good. Booker T won the feud. Booker T ended up going on to, at a pay-per-view, win the TV title. That next night on Nitro, Benoit, I think it was against Fit Finlay. I think it was the guy who had the title. I think it was a Finlay. Beat the former champion, like lickety-split, no problems. And got in the ring and cut what I still think is his best promo ever. Because as he was walking out, you had Bischoff and Bret Hart holding NWO white shirts, and he got in the ring and talked about Booker T. If you ever need someone there, I've got your back. And there was a lot of respect between them. And then Stevie Ray came out. Stevie Ray attacked Chris Benoit. Mongo McMichaels came out, saved the day. Benoit gets back on the mic and says, I'm not here for NWO Red. I'm not here for NWO White. What I'm here for, and holds up the Four Horsemen symbol. and the place went nuts. And that was during the time when Flair had left the company and was actually in really bad terms with the company because he and Bischoff hated each other. And it was just such a cool moment. It was such a great way to end that feud, and then he and Booker had this respect for each other, and it really elevated. This was a case of Benoit lost the feud, he was elevated at the end of it. So yeah, that was I love that whole angle, the way that ended, just so good.
I actually remember that, and I remember Benoit. People had so much respect for him that anybody else would have got buried after that. But they respected him, such a worker, and everybody in the company had him such respect for him that he really didn't get any fallout from that.
Yep. Yeah, that was so good. All right, so what is your number 3?
Number 3, Kane. The appearance of Kane. It was kind of the Undertaker was running out of people to wrestle, and they also did not have a gimmick for Mr. Glenn Jacobs, so they had him gain a ton of weight and muscle. I'm gonna say naturally, because I don't accuse people of doing things I don't know they did, and they had him put like in steps and wear this mask, and then during a Hell in a Cell match, the first Hell in a Cell match between Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker, this big, massive, giant human being just comes through and rips the door off the cell, because the cell was impenetrable at that time. It hadn't had all these times where people break out of the cell, but it was impenetrable, and he broke the cell, and Taker and Shawn Michaels won. I say this was one of my favorite storylines because the 20-year career it basically led to really a good hand. He was just a good worker, and they threw him. He played the fake Diesel. He played Isaac Yankem. He did whatever the WWE told him to, and they finally found a winner and a keeper. And it's like, from what I understand about him, I've never met him at all, but from what I understand about him, it couldn't have happened to a better guy. And so that is one of my favorite storylines because of the complete shock of the situation. They took a name. I remember when Undertaker debuted as Kane the Undertaker, and the way they told the story, it just fit. So I enjoy that.
That was a good one. And Kane is, for as much crap as people give Kane nowadays, Kane's great. And he's still a solid guy. You can put him in there and out of nowhere, just like they did that last pay-per-view when what's his face got hurt and they threw him in there against Bray Wyatt. And so it was Randy Orton when Randy couldn't wrestle because he still had a concussion, even though they knew he had a. But anyway, so my number 3 is a recent one. It is the Bayley Sasha Banks feud that led up to Takeover Brooklyn and then ended in Takeover Respect. I just thought that was amazing. Everything about that was picture-perfect storytelling. The match in Brooklyn, I was crying like a baby at the end of it. This was professional wrestling at its finest. And that was, especially that Brooklyn match, was one of the best matches I've ever seen. It was spectacular. That's about all I got to say about that. What's your number 2?
Number 2, NWO.
Oh, nice.
The storyline that launched the Monday Night War and changed wrestling it changed wrestling. It changed the face of wrestling. It led to my number 1, which I'm not going to mention yet, but the whole idea of these two guys that were coming to invade from WWE, because that was what they wanted you to believe at the beginning. And it was the first time, really to me, other than Hogan jumping, like 2 really major stars that were still in their prime jump ship.
Yeah, because when Hogan went to WCW, he wasn't in his prime.
Who?
Well, Hogan. When Hogan showed up in WCW, he was definitely past his prime.
He definitely was. But, you can't really tell with Hogan because he was 3 punches, boots, and a leg drop no matter what. So.
Oh, don't forget the raking of the back and eyes.
Yeah, don't forget that, because,
even though
faces are supposed to do that.
I know, right? I'm the biggest baby face of all time, so let me poke my fingers in your eyes. It's such a piece of crap that man is. But anyway, that one is on my list, but it is not my number 2. My number 2 is another new one. Sami Zayn and Adrian Neville for the NXT Championship. Can you tell that I like NXT?
I can tell. You can tell my list comes from pretty much my foundation of being a wrestling fan. So,
well, it was funny when you came up with this idea. I was like, "Oh, that's a really cool idea," and then I had to start really racking my brain because I'm like, "Well, there's stuff I really enjoyed," and there were moments I remember, like the Arn Anderson retiring and Arn Anderson saying, "You can have my spot," to Kurt Hennig moments like that. But then I was thinking of like actual overall storylines. Like, damn, that's kind of hard. And so the ones that just kind of really started popping up to me were, more recent because that's closer in my mind. And the Sami Zayn, Adrian Neville one, and I love NXT. I really do. I think they have captured overall something really special there. And this feud was fantastic. The whole story of Sami can't win the big one. And Neville almost becoming a heel, but not really. And then ending in that fantastic match. Another match where I'm crying at the end of it. And the Sami's look of disbelief, that's mine. And he gets the belt. Then just to be betrayed by Kevin Owens at the end of it all. Oh, it was so good. And
so good.
Yeah, and that was my favorite match that year. That was, hands down. Oh, I love it. So, let's go on to number 1. What's your number 1?
My number 2 pretty much led to my number 1. The introduction of the Mr. McMahon character. Vince, I didn't know when I was growing up. I didn't pay attention to a lot of dirt sheets. I had no idea Vince McMahon owned the WWF. No clue. And when they introduced him as, this is the guy that calls the shots. This is the guy that everything. And he was the Mr. McMahon character. And it was the slow burn between him and Stone Cold, where they were literally pulling back the curtain and pulling back the curtain and letting you know that this guy that's been your announcer for most of your life is the guy that's pretty much writing the show. I didn't know it. And that it changed how I looked at wrestling. And it was like, I think that day when it was announced, I went from being a mark to my evolution and trying to learn as much as I can to become a smark.
Very good. Yeah, that was I too, I did not realize that McMahon was the owner and was the head honcho. Because when that first started to happen, I was like, why this idiot's just an announcer? What are they? I thought the guy who is it? Tunney?
Yeah, Jack Tunney.
I thought Jack Tunney was the guy with more power. Obviously not, but they did their job. We thought he was. Yeah, that was a good one. I remember distinctly. There was a website I followed back then called DDT Digest, and they did like breakdown and commentary on Monday Nitro. And they would occasionally talk about, Raw. And one time, the guy who writes it went to a Raw and did a breakdown of Raw, and it was great. But I remember as this started to happen, and as the Mr. McMahon character came around, there was a quote, and the writer said, he said, Vince McMahon has out-Bischoffed Bischoff. And basically, he took what Eric Bischoff was doing, turned it up to 11. And he did it really well. He ended up doing it better than Bischoff, because as much of a dick as Bischoff is, as much you dislike him, you really dislike Vince McMahon, and they played that up beautifully.
Yep.
My number 1 angle is the NWO invasion of WCW. This brought me... I started watching wrestling again a few months before this happened, so I remember watching the Scott Hall walk out of the crowd, get the mic, and do the whole "Hey yo" on the WCW ring on TV. And then I remember Kevin Nash showing up and, butchering at the time I didn't put together, say, pay attention to the adjective here. We're not here to play, which when you really think about it, like, no, sir, that's a verb. But we didn't care at the time. That whole thing was great. That especially that initial angle. I mean, it got too bloated and it got out of hand, but you had to watch every week. You really had to. And even at the moment, I remember the day after that Nitro after Hogan turned, and everyone was disgusted, and Arn Anderson cut this scathing promo saying, "We never said we were good guys. We never told you to follow our lead. We never said, children to do what we do growing up. You did that, Hogan. You spit in people's face." The whole thing was so good. And then the main event, he has this match with Sting. He's in there. He and Sting have been enemies for so many years. And he puts out his hand like, "Hey, man, we have this common enemy." And Sting's like, "Fuck you." And it just made Sting look kind of like a dick. And it made Anderson look like Anderson's this guy going, "Hey, we have this common enemy. We got to band together." And little did you know what was to come. That thing was awesome. And yeah, completely changed wrestling forever. Some good, mostly good, some bad. But that was such a great angle. Did you have a favorite moment or anything from the whole WCW, NWO stuff? Was there anything that really stood out to you that you look back and you go, that was the coolest thing they did?
Let's see. I'm trying to think. I mean, honestly, the coolest things always came off the most shocking where they had Rick Rude debut at the same time in WCW as they were going to do it on WWE, just so they could say, one of us is live and one of us isn't. And it was always the shocking things where they would tell you like what was going to happen on the WWE before it happened. They just basically gave spoilers away. And I just thought that was
one
cool. Of my,
That was really cool.
Eric Bischoff is one of my favorite storytellers, and I've always wanted to meet him so I could tell him that. It was like, I wish they would have just let you go and, let him do what he planned to do every week. It was like once the show became profitable, that's when people started caring. So pretty much, I wish they would have just let him just tell his story.
Yeah, I think looking back, some of my favorite moments was when Luger beat Hogan for the title on Nitro.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
that was incredible. I popped so hard for that.
Mick Foley going over the Rock, as they gave him or going over the Rock, and because I was one of the people that Eric Bischoff told me Mick Foley or Mankind was going to win the title, I turned the channel to WWE. So it was just as much a WCW storyline as it was a WWF storyline.
Yeah, and that was, that was actually probably a really stupid thing to do. Because, that was, I love the things when they brought in Rick Rude, and at one point there was Bischoff after he had turned heel, and he was on commentary, and there had been a WWE pay-per-view the night before, and he made some crack about that mess of a pay-per-view last night. Little things like that I always loved. The whole giving away of... I thought that's a little much, just because that seems... Unlike trying to tell clever stories, that just seems mean-spirited. But maybe that's just me not liking mean-spiritedness. I don't know.
Yeah, it was living in a world where there was really no DVR. You had to V-Stimmy and record everything, and it was just, you just told me there was a moment I can't miss on the WWF channel, even though I was recording it. I have to turn it on there and watch it. It was just funny.
Yeah, that was not a good idea. There was some WWE actually at the time. British Blog was doing some really good stuff, and he's another guy, I think, an unsung hero in wrestling that just doesn't get the credit he deserves.
He's probably, and might be a story for another top 5, he's probably my favorite powerhouse of all time, because he was a powerhouse that was a great technical wrestler.
Yeah, he was. Just the British Bulldogs in general were such a good tag team.
Yeah.
It was a shame they didn't do more in WWE. But Well, that's pretty much going to do it for this week. Next week, our top 5, we're going to do top 5 current favorite wrestlers not in WWE. So
I imagine Jay Lethal's going to end up on one of those lists.
I think he's going to be on both of those lists. So yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to doing that. And so where can folks find you online if they do so choose?
All right, Twitter, it's at Floyd Johnson Jr. On Facebook, Floyd Johnson Jr. again is my name. And then on Instagram, because I do like to post pictures, it's at IntenseCA. That's NTENSECA.
All right. And you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Oklahoma Lefty. If you want to read my musings about music, you can hit my website up at oklahomalefty.com. The show you can follow, most importantly, on Facebook and Twitter at Around the Ring OK. And if you have any questions, comments, or want to tell us how much we stink, or at least I stink because Floyd here is awesome, you can send those as an email to aroundtheringok@gmail.com. We'll be back next week, and oh man, we didn't even talk about Alberto Del Rio getting stabbed. Poor fool got stabbed.
That is just so weird.
It is.
Because I just thought he no-showed the show like he normally does.
Yeah, and which you would think of all the promotions for him to just no-show and be a dick to. AAA is not the one to do it, because it's the only other place besides maybe New Japan you're going to get anywhere close to WWE money. And because it's one of the biggest promotions in the world. But no, he didn't just no-show, he got stabbed.
Yeah.
So, best recovery to you, Alberto El Patron. We are out of here for this week, so guys, y'all take care, be safe. We will see you next Sunday.
Bang, bang.
You've been listening to Around the Ring on the Spark Radio Network.
All you have to do is change your point of view and believe.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. Damn! Woo!
This sucks more than anything that I've ever sucked before.
What? It's for charity.